What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can...
Well, me and Khalil are going with Georgia.
I figure that's going to be the consensus.
Yeah, I don't think there's any mystery on this. Like, I don't know, bro. You talking about Ole Miss going scorch earth? I think Kirby Smart and these boys, I don't care about the troubles that they've been getting into. You know, they're just going to get out of it anyways. But anyways, I think that these boys are about to go scorch. They're going to go scorch earth this year. If the Florida State win last year didn't tell you anything, they about to go. It's about to be nasty work in the SEC. I damn near want to say that they're going to go undefeated. I got to look at that schedule again. There's one game on that schedule that I'm just rocking back and forth on, but I'm going to just go ahead and
Tennessee.
It's the Tennessee game. I don't know what it is about that game that I'm so scared of.
Which one? The Texas game?
Tennessee.
The Tennessee game?
Tennessee game. Mm-hmm.
Because they play down in their competition.
It's Nico. That's the scariest part of it for me, because nobody knows what Nico's going to do. And to be honest, if you want me to go full-blown honesty here, we could be wrong about the winner and the loser if Nico goes off for Tennessee. They could be either one. I'm just calling it what it is, man. People,
that's going to be the interesting thing about, again, especially with no divisions. It's literally just the top two seeds. So any team, well, not any team, but like majority of the teams from the SEC could theoretically be in here. Like I don't know if Tony got Texas. I'm assuming, not because he's biased, but like just off of recent history and recent hype. Tony could be right. It could be Texas and Oklahoma, and we're going, the SEC just got overran.
That would be so funny.
I would hate everything. I would just hate life.
No Bama runner-ups is wild. I mean, if you want me to talk about Alabama fishing, like I went pretty hard on them. Well, Don, and Hayden did. We all had them at 4 losses. I said Georgia, Tennessee, Mizzou, and LSU.
Listen,
I have them at 3 losses. I think they'll lose Georgia, Tennessee, and Mizzou.
Oh, let me put that down. Georgia. I don't have yours.
I have made it very clear that even with Saban gone, I'm still high on Bama. I had them at 1 loss against Georgia. I've had, which we did it on Heisman episodes, I had Jalen Milroe winning Heisman. So I've made it very clear. I'm still high on Bama. And if it smacks me in the face, it smacks me in the face. It is what it is. It's not life or death here.
But why though? That's
for Bama?
Yeah.
I mean, I've beaten this horse dead, but I'm going to do it again, but yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Nobody's probably going to watch the other videos. So now that we're discussing this, go ahead.
No, I know. Oh, are y'all done? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious
that's why I was like, I figured I was going to go last because I'm the only one that doesn't have Georgia.
Oh yeah.
I
can give it Georgia real quick if you want.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's why I'm saying I was just waiting for the 2 people that had Georgia to go.
I mean, yeah, I have them going undefeated this season. Like I said, I think they'll beat Texas in Austin, and I do have them beating Texas again in Atlanta in the SEC championship game. I know it's hard to beat the same team twice, especially when both teams are excellent teams. But again, I think this is going to come down to Georgia's defense is an elite defense. They have elite players and they have elite coaching. And so I view this defense as one that's going to be able to shut down Steve Sarkisian. And I know that Quinn Ewers has shown up in big games. I know also, though, that on the opposite side of the field, Carson Beck is someone who, in general, right? I agree that he shouldn't be regarded as the best quarterback talent, right? But he is the best at what he does. What he is asked to do, he does it at an elite level. He's an elite game manager. You look at players like you can throw that term around, but I think of like a Kirk Cousins type of guy, right? There may not be any like physical traits about him that set him apart, right? Like you look at Josh Allen,
wins.
Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, they have that arm talent. Lamar Jackson is able to take off and run along with Josh Allen. Like players have defining traits. A Kirk Cousins and a Carson Beck don't, except for that they run the offense they're in very, very well, and you can rely on them. And because of that, with the options that he has around him, Etienne in the backfield, former 5-star Branson Robinson, who's massive in the backfield, right? Dominic. Former like Dominic Lovett is at wide receiver, and he's now in his second year at Georgia after being really solid at Missouri, right? Carson Beck has weapons around him who he elevates because of the way he plays and the way he runs the offense. And I think that is something that he's just going to pick apart Texas. It doesn't even have to be big plays. It's just, he's a quarterback who he's going to take whatever the defense gives them, because you look at how Texas beat Bama. They were opportunistic when Jalen Milroe this past year got frazzled in the pocket because he doesn't deal well with pressure, right? They were able to get in his head.
That was also the O-line was just bad for Bama at that.
Yes, no, I completely agree.
They caught Texas caught them at the right time.
No, I agree. Their offensive line was bad, but I guess it still stands. You look at Georgia, they don't have an offensive line that's that bad. They have a quarterback who, even if he is under pressure, right, he's not going to be as mistake prone as Jalen Milroe was, right? So Carson Beck's going to do exactly what you need to do. Again, I know he lost to Bama in the SEC championship this past year. I think that him and the rest of that team take that experience to Atlanta this year, and I think that they put together a win and get to, they end up being I think they're going to be the number 1 seed in the playoffs next year. But I think that it's the experience of Georgia, as well as the efficiency and I think reliability of Carson Beck is going to put them past Texas for a second time.
Yeah, I don't know. Carson Beck just does enough to be really good. Trevor Etienne is going to be good.
Yeah, because he's not going to get any punishment.
Yeah,
he has 1 game suspension,
and which I don't think is going to be enough to
against Clemson. It could be.
Nah, I think they.
Well, okay, not like a loss, but again, I'm saying this could still lead into the 10-3 struggle week 1. Again, I don't think
Clemson's offense has enough to deal with that Georgia defense, though.
I agree.
That's where I think things are going to get a little bit out of hand. I don't know. I just look at Oscar Delp for his skill set, for as long as he sat behind Brock Bowers, was actually more scary than what people give it credit for. But that's just my 2 cents, man. I don't know. I don't see Georgia losing the game this year, and them losing to Alabama last year is what's going to scorch earth them, the whole SEC. Like the way that Kirby responds to adversity with those players too. I'll be hard pressed to tell you right now. I think if Georgia was to play in that college football playoff last year, they win, and then they win handedly.
I still think it was Michigan's year, man, with that defense.
I think
Texas would have beat Michigan if they played.
I agree with that.
I think Georgia the only team Texas would have lost to in the playoffs last year was the one team they played, and that's Washington.
They had enough offensive firepower where their defensive backs couldn't handle that, man.
Because you look at what Michigan had, their bread and butter, right, is the run game. Yeah. J.J. McCarthy's not going to beat you. And what was Texas the best, one of the best teams in the country at stopping was the running game. They held Ollie Gordon to 35 yards against Oklahoma State. Yeah.
They would have forced JJ to come out of the shell.
They would have forced JJ McCarthy to beat them, and I don't think JJ McCarthy could have beat them.
If anybody, it would have been Roman Wilson that would have beat him. But yeah. But go ahead. I don't have anything else to say about Georgia. I just think that they're the most complete squad in college.
Again, we talk about, and again, you talk about, if anything, Roman Wilson, could have beat them carrying JJ McCarthy. Again, that's just what I think it was with Carson Beck. Yes, he did enough, and Khalil, you talk about when Texas rattled, Jalen Milroe in week 2.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama rattled Carson Beck in the playoffs. So, I mean, again, you've lost Ladd McConkey. You've lost Brock Bowers. Again, the best player that was in college football. I personally feel like it was more them than it was Brock Bowers. I feel like you could put any quarterback behind there and they still would have had the same success. So again, with Alabama, pretty favorable schedule, and they are lucky enough to start off with Western Kentucky, South Florida. Then they got to go to Wisconsin. So they got 3 weeks right off the bat to kind of get the new coaches kind of settled in, new staff, everything settled in. Then they're lucky. Well, not lucky, but yes, their first SEC game is Georgia. It's at Alabama. I did put them down as a loss for this one, but it can go either way. And then again, you face Vanderbilt, not good. South Carolina, not good. Tennessee, who knows with what Nico's going to be. Missouri, I'm guessing it's just me because everybody else has been talking about. I don't know if Missouri is going to have the same success they did last year, but that game is also at Alabama. LSU, it's a coin flip. Who knows what Gus is going to look like? Mercer, Oklahoma, Auburn, Iron Bowl, Auburn at Alabama. So I think the only regular season they get, and I've said it before, is going to be against Georgia. We look at what Kalen DeBoer did, who is coming off of the national championship, and he's bringing coaches, or he brought coaches with him, like Jamarcus Shepard, who is going to be the co-offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach. And, Washington just had a top 10 wide receiver drafted. Like, they had a good wide receiver room, one of the deepest ones last year in college football. Kane Womack is now going to be your defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at South Alabama. Shout out to the Jags, shout out to the Senior Bowl, all that stuff. But back when he was being hired, he was one of the hottest coaches in college football to be hired. And again, he's done defense most of his entire life. He's been defensive coordinator, Eastern Illinois, South Alabama, Indiana. He's had defense, as his, that's just been what he does. So he's going back to being what he's known as a defensive coordinator. There's just, I think Alabama is just going to meet Georgia. And again, it's just going to be a repeat of what last year is. And I don't think Georgia had a lot of firepower to overcome then. I don't think Georgia's going to have a lot of firepower to overcome this. Like they were able to overcome it last year. They almost came back and they didn't. They fell short of the mark. I don't think Oscar Delp is going to be enough. I don't. Again, you saw what Kalen DeBoer did with Michael Penix. I think it's going to be the same thing with Jalen Milroe, who already had his humbling moment of getting benched in that Texas game.
Who's Jalen Milroe thrown to, though? That Jeremy dude that came over from Washington?
Milroe doesn't have the accuracy at those intermediate and short levels of the field that Penix did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't. Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond are two really good receivers. Jermaine Burton had 0% drop rate, and then Isaiah Bond transferred out. I don't know, Sora. I just don't. I know. So here's where I struggle. Not saying that you're wrong. Like this is great.
No,
what you're saying totally makes sense. But this is the biggest blueprint type thing that is happening in my brain. Is Kalen DeBoer going to try to change who Jalen Milroe is?
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to work? Or are you going to cater that offense around his skill set, which is running and possibly throwing the ball deep every once in a while, but there's no Jermaine Burton or Isaiah Bond there. Like that's I get those three running backs may be best in the country. The offensive line is probably the best in the country. But then Florida State came in and took Roydell Williams. Now he's on our squad. And we grabbed like 4 of their defensive players. They transferred after Nick Saban said he was going. So, and what was the one thing that Nick Saban was known for was his defensive backs. Caleb Downs is gone. I just don't. And then they lost a ton in the draft. Kool-Aid's going. Terrion Arnold's going. I don't know, man. And then 2 of their edge rushers are going. I think not saying that Alabama's going to be a bad team. I think they're going to lose a lot of close games, but I just don't see it, brother. Like, I love Kalen DeBoer and what he's done, but that's a lot of change for one team. The good thing for him is Nick Saban's got an office there at Alabama that he's going and helping Kalen out. But it's one thing being Nick Saban, and it's one thing getting advice from Nick Saban. I don't know, but this is pretty ballsy. Hey, man, if they end up winning,
you can laugh in our faces.
You need to crown this man Sora. You need to crown him.
It's not even that. Again, if they end up again, I still think Georgia will be the number 1 seed. And they can probably still end up winning. I just don't have that much faith in Carson Beck to get the job done without all the weapons. Just in general, even if they win the SEC, I don't think, looking at playoff wise, I don't see it. I feel like Georgia's going to be in a lot of close games, and I think they're going to lose some of them. And you could say the same for Bama. Again, SEC is just very interesting now with, Texas, Oklahoma. Again, none of these teams, Georgia or Alabama, somehow could miss it.
I don't disagree
Especially
with
with
you,
no
Fisher.
divisions.
I don't disagree that this is the most talented team that he's had, but we can't overlook the fact that this dude is a passing offensive coach.
It's not a schematic fit with Milroe.
Having Michael Penix Jr. throwing to Jalen Polk and Roma Dunze and what's McMillan, that is totally different than throwing to nobodies right now. You're throwing to the backup's backup that he had transferred over, that Jeremy guy that's coming over.
Jeremy Bernard, yeah.
And
which they kept the tight end coach as well. DeBoer brought the tight end coach over, so there's familiarity with that. I will say for a wide receiver for Alabama, I know he's just a freshman. I'm not saying he's going to be the number one target and he's going to start right away, but I am very intrigued about Caleb Odom.
And Ryan Williams. Yeah, they moved Odom from tight end to wide receiver.
From tight end to wide receiver, yep, because dude is 6'6", so they're like,
I just think that statement is wild from Fishing, though. The most talented team. I mean,
they're not the most talented team.
They had 3 wide receivers go in the draft, and they went.
Yeah, I can't listen. I know Fishing's agreeing with me, but I can't agree with that statement.
The brother, he doesn't. Jalen Milroe is not the caliber of quarterback that Michael Penix Jr. is, and neither are any one of these receivers.
He's not a pocket passer. He has incredible arm strength, and he has pretty solid accuracy downfield. But when Kalen DeBoer's offense is predicated on timing and accuracy and good decision making in the short and intermediate levels of the field, the very things that Jalen Milroe struggled with, you can't sit here and tell me that there's not going to be some difficult, some bumps in the road adjusting in live game scenarios for one or both of them. Because if you try to run the same offense, Milroe is going to struggle heavily. And if you try to adapt the offense, which I think DeBoer is a good person to have if you're going to, change things up for a quarterback, it's still going to be an adjustment for Milroe, because last year offensively, Alabama was just like, Milroe, please go make magic happen and hope that our running backs can get enough to help him out.
Also, Dante, were you talking about Jeremy Bernard?
Yeah.
The guy from Washington? Yeah.
Yeah, he came over with them. One thing that I did want to call out, if I can, with Jalen Milroe, the sack yards for loss were 328.
He got sacked 44 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was on his own volition, because it wasn't like that offensive line was bad. He was just trying to improvise. Being an improviser can get you in a lot of trouble, like 328 yards lost. And he didn't play every single game last year. So let's just put it like that. But here's the top 5 guys for Alabama. Jalen Milroe, is he still at Alabama? Yes. Jace McClellan, 890 yards, gone. Even though I said they got 3 of the best running backs in the country.
I'd say they upgraded at that, but yeah.
I say Jan Miller's going to be pretty good. Jermaine Burton, gone. Caleb Downs, gone. Terry Arnold, gone. And they all led in their respective categories: receiving yards, tackles, interceptions, and rushing yards. So 4 to 5 weapons that were statistically at the top were all either lost to the portal, lost to the NFL, or they graduated. But most of these guys went to the NFL or transferred, like Caleb Downs. I don't know. I like the story. I just have to bring myself back down to reality. I'm not saying that it's not realistic, but if Kalen DeBoer wins the SEC, you know how monumental that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
People, it's kind of like, this is what I compare Kalen DeBoer winning the SEC like. You kind of have to shut up about Lincoln Riley when it comes to quarterback development. Everybody needs to just shut up. You can't really say anything. 3 Heisman winners and 4 that were in the conversation. Yeah, dog. We kind of need to hang up the cleats after that. You can't even talk about that he's not a quarterback developer.
Oh, Lincoln Riley also just runs away from competition, but that is besides the point.
Yeah, but his quarterbacks are always good.
Well,
But it's like with 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝘲𝗀𝘀 Ďabor. If he goes in there and wins the SEC championship and gets back to the college football playoff with Alabama, with all these weapons that he lost to the portal and all this stuff, bruh, people need to shut up about 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝘀 not being
especially
a
because
good
like
coach.
the first offensive coordinator he brought, and I can't remember the dude's name, but he went to Seattle.
Ryan
now.
Grubb.
Grubb, thank you.
Yeah, Ryan Grubbs. Yep.
He's
All right,
in
let's
Seattle now.
Let's get over to the other guys. I mean, they all had Georgia winning too. This was a landslide.
Oh, so Tony didn't even have Texas in. Interesting.
Nope. He had Oklahoma as the runner-up, so he took his bias out of it when it came to this. So, yeah, the ECG winner is going to be Georgia, and Texas will be the runner-up.
I did too with my runner-up.
Clay and I are like, yeah, our schools were nowhere near that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, by all accounts, man. Whoa.
All right, the takes were so bad we've been plugged off the air. Oh.
So Fishin says, let me go back to here because this directly has to relate to this. Do y'all think Ďabor isn't working with Milrose backups too, though? If the system doesn't fit, we're going to see how good of an offensive coach he is. I know he tried to bring his OC and went to the NFL. Well, it's a good question. I mean, all these quarterbacks are getting work. The one notable thing is Austin Mack came over as well. So, and this dude was highly touted when I believe he was at Washington last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he was, because they were talking about him, like if something was to happen to Michael Penix, then
yeah,
you know, he would
Austin
have been
Mack,
the next. Yeah, he would have been the guy to step in. Ty Simpson's still there. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with Alabama quarterbacks. They don't put it together until like their last year for whatever reason. So I don't know. I think Ďabor is going to play it safe. Jalen is a hell of a leader, though.
Mm-hmm.
He literally took the opposite of the Tim Tebow. He had to get benched, and then he went incredible after that. Tim Tebow had to take a tough loss to put Florida on his back. Nobody knows what motivations that these guys have. But in college, let's not forget the fact. We'll talk when we talk about NFL and college. The one thing about college, man, is an improvising quarterback can win you a lot of games. In the NFL, you got to put it all together. So, not saying that Jalen Milroe is going to be the ultimate NFL quarterback when he gets there. He's most likely going to convert to tight end. Like, you see how big that dude is? But
dude, he's yoked. He looks like a linebacker.
I remember asking my dad last year. I called him. I was like, you know who Jalen Milroe is? He's like, I know what them arms look like, though. I said, ooh, pause, brother. Milroe could get the bench legit.
There's no way I mean, he could, but I just don't. I don't.
He would have to. He would have to play.
He would have to stink
football.
it. I don't think he's going to play terrible after that benching last year, bro. It's one of them things where it's like, you know what it's like to be at the bottom. And
dude locked in. Like, he got benched mid-Texas game and then had to watch his team struggle against USF.
Well, let me ask Khalid this.
Yeah.
Because you weren't here last year. So
right.
All of us collectively were like, damn, Jalen Milroe might be a Heisman finalist. By the way, he was playing
him as a finalist by the end of the year.
You did, but we were having a legit conversation saying that dude could have been a finalist last year by the way that he was playing. Like those last 7 weeks of the season.
Yeah,
man, he was
especially
on one,
especially the ending of that Iron Bowl, man.
He was on one.
That was. Do
you agree with that sentiment though?
So it kind of reminds me of CJ Stroud and what happened not in his last year, but I think his first year as a starter at Ohio State. There was hype. He didn't look great, and then against Oregon, he really struggled. They lost.
Yeah, because they lost that game.
And then he got hurt, I believe. He took like a week or two, and I think one of those was a bye week to kind of like heal up and reset. And from then on out, his career at Ohio State, he was lights out.
Yep.
I think that those career trajectories are very similar, except I think that because of the nature of Milroe's athleticism and his running ability, I think that Milroe, has a higher ceiling as a college player to where he can actually win the Heisman. Yes, I think last year even like I think you could have made the
He's not
argument
winning
that,
the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award.
right? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we're talking like the most prestigious award in all of college football. I think, yeah, he carried that team on his back. I mean, I watched it firsthand when he came into College Station. His offensive line was throwing. They had 4 false starts in a row. That's how loud we were and how bad they were. 4 false starts in a row. And Milroe was out there, and his defense would make mistakes, and he'd have Edgerrin Cooper chasing him down, one of I think 3 linebackers in the country who could neutralize Jalen Milroe's running ability. Edgerrin Cooper, Harold Perkins, Anthony Hill Jr. But Milroe still, he dot after dot, no matter like downfield, he was making magic happen. And it's like, yeah.